Hey Lion Bolt Kingdom! Something I like to emphasize when I talk about working as an indie creator is developing multiple streams of income. For me, that means in addition to my books and art, I started doing freelance commissions as well. Freelancing can be a great way to earn experience and a stream of income in addition to or in substitution for a full-time job. So I took on several freelance writing jobs on Fiverr over the course of about 3.5 months, and in this video I'll go over some of the things I learned. If you're meeting me for the first time, I'm Lion Bolt, digital artist and author of the YA urban fantasy and mystery novel series Detective King, which you can learn more about in the description. I post content here about writing, art, and being an indie creator. Lesson 1. How to get clients. So the obvious first step is getting the client work in the first place. It isn't enough to just post about it on social media or having a QR code sign at artist alley tables, both of which I did. The number one thing that's going to generate clients is finding a niche that you can work in that people are likely to search for. So for me, I created several gigs to test out what worked and what didn't. One gig I had was I Will Ghostwrite Your First-Person Fantasy Novel. I did not get any clients on this gig. However, the gig I Will Ghostwrite Your Anime-Inspired Light Novel got tons of reaction, more work than I could take on, in fact, as I will get into later. The thing is, these two gigs were essentially identical, with the same service and similar terms, but the difference was that there are very few writers on Fiverr catering specifically to the anime or light novel genre. In fact, I think I was the only one for a while specifically referencing light novels. So anyone looking up those terms would see me as their first option, thus giving that gig a lot more work, even though in substance it was no different from the more generic ghostwriting gig. Looking professional is also super important. Lots of information in the gig page, show your face, so people know you're a real person. That is a real concern I've heard people voice. And know that, at least in my experience, probably 90% of your work will come through custom offers. So responding quickly and opening a dialogue with the potential client so you're both clear on the objectives and expectations of the job from the beginning is really crucial. Lesson 2. Be realistic in what you offer. It's tempting to promise quick turnaround times and high word counts to get a leg up on the competition, but know that it's always going to be more work than you think. So don't overpromise and be smart about your time. Several times I had to get time extensions, and so long as you maintain a good relationship with your client, that's okay. But it's obviously better to be realistic in what you can do than have to constantly move the goalposts just to keep up. Similarly, lesson 3 is don't take on more work than you can handle. It is tempting to take on any and every job that comes your way, but if you do that, you risk spreading yourself too thin and burning yourself out. I think at one time I had 4 clients at the same time, while also still doing cons, and it was just too much, leading to more difficulty meeting my deadlines and later hampering both my patience and the quality of my work. Lesson 4. Set your terms and be realistic about what is worth your time. So Fiverr, as well as other freelance sites, take a cut out of your profits. For Fiverr, that's 20%, a pretty big slice. And when you're charging low rates as a newbie, combined with the desire to offer a lot to appear competitive, means you risk taking on a lot of work for very little reward. One commission, I copy edited an over 100,000 word novel and formatted it for publishing for $380 after Fiverr's cut. A professional service would have charged several thousand for the same amount of work, which is why I edit my own books. That leads me to the set your terms part of this. Sometimes what the client has in mind, or it actually needs, ends up being very different from what you thought you signed up for. For that editing job, it started as a proofread, but the manuscript needed more extensive edits than a simple proofread, and it turned into a full-on copy edit, so it's important to be clear on those terms, especially on things that not everyone will be familiar with, like the difference between the stages of editing. Also be aware that not every job is going to be fun, and if there are topics or content that ever make you uncomfortable, be upfront about that. my first commission job, there was content in it that I wasn't really okay with, and that made it hard for me to get through it. So asking questions about the topic of the project and trigger warnings ahead of time can help prevent those situations. Also, whatever niche you find yourself gaining traction in, make sure it's one that you enjoy. I thought that light novels and anime-inspired stories would be a good fit for me and my writing style, but as I took on more jobs in that niche, it became apparent to me that my perception of that genre wasn't quite matched up with what a lot of writers in the genre expect. I guess that's to say I discovered I'm not actually a big fan of light novels, unless it's a particularly well-written one or one that interests me. I love anime, but not all anime, and I feel that a lot of the light novel scene draws from the side of anime culture I'm not super fond of, the sort of isekai, lit RPG, fanservice heavy side. And as I got more jobs in that genre, I sort of lost my passion for it. Lesson 5. Even good jobs have a downside. Aside from that big editing job, the largest project I did was ghostwriting a 56,000 word lit RPG novel. For anyone who doesn't know, lit RPG is essentially a novel with leveling mechanics like a video game, where the main character grows stronger by leveling up. The appeal is in seeing that progression. Now, I don't really read much of that genre, so was what I wrote a true lit RPG? I'm not sure, but I did my best with the leveling and game mechanic restraints, and I think I did a good job. In any case, it was a blast to write because I was given free range to develop the plot and characters, so long as each chapter fit into the constraints of the game system. Playing with that system was a fun challenge, and I developed a plot and cast of characters that I really resonated with. I thought some of those chapters counted among my best work. The problem is that I put my heart and soul into developing this story, and then I had to hand it back off to the client, who retains all ownership, and I assume will publish it somewhere someday. I've yet to see it anywhere. I'm not in contact with them anymore, but I do check around web novel sites sometimes for it. Eventually, I assume it will see the light of day, but I won't be credited for it, and any changes the client makes to it are out of my control. So even though I enjoyed the commission, it's hard to give something like that up, and it takes something of an emotional toll that you have to be aware of in freelancing, and particularly in ghostwriting. You can write the best novel in the world, could even go on to be a huge success, win awards, but you'll never get recognition for it unless the client decides to give it to you, which they are under no obligation to do. That's just part of the job. So to sum up, freelancing is not easy. You need to be focused on your client's needs, and that can eat up a lot of your time, especially if you take on a lot of work. I wasn't really able to work on any of my own books while I was working with my clients, and the monetary reward isn't always worth it considering the cut freelance sites take out. It can be easy to get burnt out, and that can harm communication with the clients. I had a project canceled for that reason, and that experience sapped whatever confidence I had for a while. You need to want to write, and writing for other people isn't for everyone, at least when it comes to large projects like this. In any case, it's important to be clear about your expectations and guidelines, stay professional, and prioritize yourself and what makes a job worthwhile to you. I am taking a step back from writing commissions for a while. I am not sure if I will go back to it. If I do, it might not be on Fiverr. While I enjoyed some of the projects I worked on, and I loved helping people get their stories out there, it's also very draining, and if I want to get my own books out there, I just lack the ability to do both at the same time, at least for now. So those are some takeaways from my time doing writing commissions on Fiverr. If you're a freelancer or an aspiring one, let me know if I left anything out, or if there's anything you'd like me to expand on. Also, a big thank you to anyone who has commissioned me, either writing or art. Your support has all been very much appreciated. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe if you want, and I'll see you in the next video.